Yeah, there are four Gospels, and they do tell the same events which happen through the life of Jesus, and often from different perspectives. This is actually going to be really fun. So somebody who I've been talking to about how I'm going to portray, the events, was saying, why not just do one combined kind of gospel, but which but that's not how they're portrayed. Each gospel has its own specific kind of objective and the reason why it's written, who it's written to, and they're all different. And Mark, is the first. It's also shortest. It tells a lot of events, but not so much of the speeches, which Matthew includes. But the point being that it's not gonna mush them all together. But where, so for example, I've been storyboarding the first few pages, and that's the encounter where John the Baptist baptizes Jesus, and in that Jesus comes, and in Mark it says, he comes to John, he gets baptized, then he goes into the wilderness, he meets the devil, he gets tempted, and that it's really like that's all you get. Whereas of course you read Matthew and stuff, it tells you like John was saying this, and so he was speaking to the Pharisees and saying, "You brood of vipers, who warned you?" And you know that the whole of Judah were there, and then he says things like, "Oh, if a man has two coats, give one to the poor," and stuff like that, like Jesus says later on. But in Mark, it doesn't say these things. So what happens is that when we see the events, particularly when Jesus first walks up to John, we know from the other accounts he says, "The Lamb of God," and he says, "I'm not worthy to baptize you. You should be baptizing me." In Mark, he doesn't say the word. The word's not there. But you know that the moment where Jesus met John, John was reluctant and then said, "I'm not worthy." So in the pictures in Mark, you see Jesus walk up, John bow down and say something, but there's no words there. But you see that he's sort of, bowing down and saying, "Not worthy," and then Jesus picks him up and says, "We fulfill all righteousness," but there's no speech bubbles. However, when the same event happens and we do the Matthew account, it'd be the same pictures because it's exactly the same event, but with Matthew we supply the speech bubbles which tell you what they're actually saying. So sometimes we use the exact same pictures in the different books, and then other times the flip side of that is that once or twice you get an account where the two gospels slightly different. So they go across and they meet a demon-possessed man, and then in one of the other gospels there's two demon-possessed men. So in one of the accounts, when it's drawn, it'll be drawn from a perspective where you can only really see one, and then another account will be drawn for the same scene with the same background, same people standing where they're standing, but they'll be drawn from a different perspective and you can see that there's two. And so the person who gave the account, who Luke wrote down or whatever, knew there were two there. Matthew, whoever, focuses on just the one. So that's how it'll work. A lot of the time it will repeat images and keep the words, or add the words or not have the words. Other times it will show the same event from different perspectives, and in that way it shows the exact things as they come along, faithfully. What it won't do is bring in events from other gospels without word, like whole tracks of things. It will still just deal with the events that get dealt with in order, but where the exact same thing with the same person standing in the same place, from a different gospel that they're reluctant in this case, that will be portrayed so that you get a really accurate picture of what's happening.